This evening or this morning's webinar in some parts of the world, we're going to be covering, of course, the Portuguese Golden Visa. On behalf of Portugal.com, it's an increasingly popular feature that we've been doing now with Portugal.com for the past few months. The Portugal Visa is, of course, a hot topic at the moment. It's in the press, left, right, and centre, especially since February, when the talk of the closing of the program came about. We're fielding a lot of questions at the moment about when that may happen, how much time is left, and of course, a very relevant topic for today's webinar is there still time to apply for the Golden Visa? So I shall give you everything that you need to know from here on the ground in Portugal to give you a good idea of what's involved and of course the time is left to get involved. Yeah, we shall get stuck in. So the plan for today, I'm going to, first of all, for those that are just at the beginning of their Golden Visa adventure, I shall be explaining the basics of what the program is, first of all, and who it is for, the benefits of the visa, how to qualify, what the process is, everything that you need to know to bring you up to speed on whether it's something that you wish to pursue. We'll also have a look at some of my personal favorite investment opportunities across Portugal that are out there at the moment. I'll also be giving you an idea on how to qualify for the program with less than 280,000 euros as well. Who can be included on the visa? I'll cover off kind of which family members can go alongside the application. And yeah, like I say, I'll give you some tips and tricks as best as I can. And hopefully by the time we finish, you'll have a good idea of what is involved and where everything is up to. I also am very excited to say that there has actually been 2 new property developments launched in Portugal, which is the first I've seen of anything new come to market since the announcement back in February this year. So keen to show everyone those. You'll be the first attendee to see those new developments. So we'll come on to that shortly as well. So yeah, other than that, just to introduce myself, if you haven't joined one of the Portugal.com webinars before, I haven't spoken with myself. My name is Jason Swan. I'm actually a qualified and regulated financial planner here in Portugal. I've been in Portugal now for 2 years. Previous to Portugal, I was living in Malaga in Spain for 5 years. Unfortunately, I'm just as bad at Portuguese as I was with Spanish. I'm very good with numbers, not all that too good at language. But yeah, very good with numbers, very good with the advice. I'm also an expert when it comes to achieving residency and citizenship in Europe by way of investment as well. My role here is as one of the senior partners at Holborn Assets, who are a global wealth management business. Holborn Assets, for those that are not too familiar with us just yet, we're not a Golden Visa company. We're not a realtor. We are a financial planning business. We have 20 offices globally. We manage over $3 billion between those offices. And that is our main business, if you like. But around about 6 years back, we launched a program designed to help our clients achieve residency and citizenship in a number of different locations worldwide. With myself, of course, being in Portugal, it is generally my speciality to cover off how to get to Portugal and, of course, in turn, Europe as well. So, other than that, let's start with the basics. What is the Portugal Golden Visa? So, hopefully, if you've logged into today's webinar, you might already have a pretty good idea what's involved. But just to start with the basics, the Golden Visa is very much a golden ticket, if you like, to live in Portugal and ultimately to live anywhere in Europe. It is a 2-year visa, okay, and you're allowed to live in Portugal, work in Portugal, retire to Portugal. You can do whatever you like, and you can renew the visa every 2 years. After 5 years, however, you can apply for your citizenship, which is where you get a Portuguese passport, being, of course, a European passport, allowing you to live in any of the European states. It's Europe's most well-renowned and popular route to citizenship. It's been around now since 2012. The program's accepted over 11,000 new applications since it was launched. My company has done over 10% of the world's Golden Visa applications, and we also maintain a 100% success rate of those applications as well. So that's if Portugal is where you want to head, it allows you to get to Portugal and maintain a visa with a minimum stay of only 1 week every year, unlike the other visa options for Portugal that require at least 6 months stay every year. So you can kind of put yourself on a path, and your family, of course, a path to achieving a European passport without having to spend more than, let's say, 2 weeks every 2 years here in Portugal. So as you get the visa, you get all the rights as if you were born in Portugal. So all the rights of a Portuguese citizen. You have access to the healthcare in Portugal. You have access to world-class education as well. You actually have all the same rights as, like I say, if you are a Portuguese citizen and born here, other than you cannot vote and you cannot run for president. Other than that, you get to enjoy, like I say, the features of being an EU resident. Not to mention, it's a very nice quality of life here as well. I live down in the Algarve, where typically it's a little bit warmer. I'm a little biased as well towards the south, but the beaches are a little nicer. But of course, you have the main city centre of Lisbon, and up north, the third biggest town is, of course, Porto. I don't think you can go too far wrong anywhere in Portugal, to be fair. The cost of living is very low compared to other parts of the world. God, it does vary a little bit dependent upon the region. But all in all, yeah, it's an incredible place to be, whether it be now or whether it be somewhere that you're thinking of maybe having as a backup option for the future, or again, maybe could be for children, them and their future, with regard to the education on offer as well. For those that don't hold an American passport, I'll come back to that shortly, but if you don't hold an American passport, there is also a very favorable tax treatment on offer for the first 10 years that you live in Portugal called NHR, which I'll be coming on to shortly, which can offer you some significant deductions in your taxes as well. But all in all, yeah, I don't think I need to sell Portugal too much, but yeah, any questions that you have around Portugal, generally, I'll be happy to share my experience and give you some tips and tricks on where to head to when you come over as well. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on the tax. It's not the most exciting topic. However, it is one of the main reasons new residents choose Portugal over like Spain, like Cyprus, or like those other parts of the EU. Because for the first 10 years that you live here, you can apply to be what is a non-habitual resident, which allows you to draw income such as dividends and rental income completely tax-free for the first 10 years that you're here. Also, an income such as pension income is capped at just 10%. Certain employed or self-employed income can be capped at 20% as well, depending on your profession and the industry within which you work. Also, those that are looking to retire in Portugal, there are investment vehicles to utilize that can offer significant tax breaks on long-term income, both during and after that 10-year initial period as well. So yeah, have a think. If there's income that you will have from outside of Portugal that will continue when you live here, it's something to bear in mind. We can assist with that application if you feel it would be of a benefit. There's something else I wanted to mention on NHR. That was it. The important point to remember is NHR is just a tax status. Okay, it is not a visa. It's not linked to the visa. It is quite simply a tax regime that you can apply for once you physically move to Portugal. Applying for the visa does not change your tax status in any way. The visa is simply permission to move to Portugal, but only at the time when you physically become tax resident here, can you then apply for that tax relief on your overseas income. Any questions on the tax side of things? There's a Q&A box I forgot to mention earlier. Please do put your questions in the Q&A box. I can see a few coming already, which I will come on to shortly, and we'll be sure to cover off any questions on this towards the end. Now, tax aside, what's going on with the visas? So you've probably seen a number of headlines since the 16th of February talking about the end of the world for Portugal. The program is closed. There's no applications being accepted. The talk a while back in March about applications not being accepted this February. And there's obviously been a lot of panic, and it's been one of the most talked about search terms on Google right now as far as Portugal is concerned. and there's a lot of misleading information on the web. Just to confirm, the program has not closed. Okay, it is exactly the same now as it was last year. They are still accepting applications. Criteria have not changed. It is exactly the same as it was this time last year. However, since February, Mr. Costa, as you can see there in the photo, has made it pretty clear that the program is going to close. He feels that the program has now served its purpose for Portugal and now currently contribute towards the housing crisis of increasing the house prices and the lack of affordable housing in Portugal. It is that the removal of the program is one of 16 different measures aimed to tackle that housing crisis. But it is generally the one that is the most talked about. The program has brought in billions of euros for Portugal over the past 10, 11 years. And it's quite a controversial topic as to whether or not closing the program would in fact have any positive impact on the housing crisis at all. The number of golden visa applications compared to actual property transactions in Portugal is a very, very small percentage. And it is of common opinion that it is more, it is a positive thing for Portugal rather than a negative. However, Mr. Costa feels differently. And as of the 16th of February, he made that announcement following then a discussion of what should have been 30 days, was extended to 45 days until the end of March, was a public discussion. And that public discussion gave the chance to everybody in Portugal, all natures and whatever industries that they worked in, different property developers, different law firms, and so on, had their say as to whether or not, first of all, they would like to see the end of the program, and whether or not they feel there's a better solution to the problem, as opposed to simply getting rid of the golden visa. So yes, that went up to 45 days. Thereafter, that information was considered, and as of Friday just gone, Parliament voted. In fact, before it was voted on by Parliament, there was some changes to the change in law. Feedback was taken on board by the government. However, it remained very similar to how it started, and Parliament on Friday voted for it to go ahead, which is the bad news. We was really, really hoping it wouldn't happen. We kind of expected it would happen, but for various reasons. But it has been confirmed that the program is going to close. It was voted as of Friday. So for this stage, so we're in stage 2. This has been going on since February. We're kind of a little bit late to the party at this point, but this is the legal process, which isn't, it was not noted in a lot of the press back in February. There is still a legal process and time involved to close the program. So the votes have been made. Now there is a dedicated committee to review specifically the point around the close of the golden visa program. The topic will be further discussed over the next 2 weeks, and then they will consult with the president of Portugal, and he will then make the final decision as to whether or not the program is to close, which in theory, it might not. It might not. He does have the power to cancel the program. Again, we're kind of hoping that happens. The President and the Prime Minister don't get along particularly well. They've been quite vocal in the press about difference in opinions and whether or not certain things should change. The President is the Prime Minister's boss, however, and he will have the final say. But if he decides that he wants to go against Parliament and against the Prime Minister, he does have the power to veto the cancellation of the program. He may ask for further changes to be made. It could be sent back to the government to make further changes to the draft law, or he may pass the law as it stands, which currently is the most likely option. Now, we expect that we're kind of coming up to the end of May now. They're kind of by June, we feel around about mid-June, it would have been passed back to the president, and he would have had his final say. And shortly thereafter will then be the closure of the program. Again, these things don't happen immediately. Everything in Portugal if history is anything to go by, is quite slow. It's very rare for these big changes to be made quickly. But in a worst case scenario, we may see the program close by the end of June. Okay. In a very worst case scenario, so we don't think this is likely. Okay, but it is a worst case scenario. The most likely scenario from our professional opinion and that of the law firms of which we consult with as well, the most likely scenario is that we'll see the program close in July, somewhere between July and August this year. One talking point that the president will have to address is whether or not there will be a grace period granted as well. Again, we feel it's very unlikely that the president will agree for the program to be closed and then immediately close it and change the law. If Ireland is anything to go by, who closed their Golden Visa program this year, they gave a 3-month grace period, which we feel is quite likely. So, like I said, most likely scenario, we see the law change in August this year, between July and August. Best case, we're quietly confident we might get a bit longer. But what we're starting to see now is that since February, well, up until this week, there's not been any developments coming to sale in Portugal. The builders have been very clear to say, we just don't know how much time we have to sell new development. So we're just going to hang fire for now. However, this week, I've seen two new developments come back, not back to sale, but come for sale, which means that the developers are quite confident, and that there are, the 2 or 3 main developers in Portugal, each of which seem to be quite confident that they're going to have time to sell these hotels. So that's a really positive sign. They may know something that we don't. There is quite a close connection between, of course, the big developers in Portugal and the government. But we shall see. We shall see. We work on a worst case scenario. We hope for the best case scenario. We get a grace period. If things are a little bit slow, like history has told us in the past, we might see the program staying with us until later this year. But we don't know for sure. At this point, I would if this is something that you wish to pursue, my advice is always to do it whilst you still can, and do it as soon as you can, because we don't know exactly how long that we have. If it is a worst case scenario, and we see the program close at the end of June, that only gives us 4 or 5 weeks to submit your application. The average time to do that is around 2 to 4 weeks. There's quite a lot to do before you can submit your application, which I'll go through shortly. So yeah, don't hesitate. Take the time to consider the program, work out and talk with family. Is it something that you want to do? If it is, take action. Look for a suitable investment property and then start the process. It's worth noting at this point that Holborn do offer you some protection against this cancellation as well. In the event that the program does close earlier than expected, or if criteria was to change unexpectedly for what types of property qualify, we make sure we personally offer to refund any money that you may have spent at that point. So if you have paid a lawyer or if you have paid a deposit for a property, Holborn will take liability from that and guarantee to hit the deadline. Otherwise, they'll refund that money back to you. So it's really important. Nobody can offer any guarantees at the moment how long we have with the program, but it's important to make sure that you're not risking any money. And also things, working on the lines of making sure you work with a lawyer who can get things through quickly. It's another important part of my advice is to make sure that, you're not just finding a good investment, but you're utilizing a good lawyer that can meet that deadline. Because once the program does close, it will be closed for good. And the last thing that you want is to be held up with any unnecessary delays. All that's nice and clear. Overall positive news. Like I said, I kind of do my best to keep ahead of the news. And each webinar that I host, there's always a slight tweak, and there seems to be more positive news than we first thought back in February. There is still time to act. And to answer the question of today's webinar, there is still time. There is still time to apply for your Golden Visa. Like I say, we don't think it will close as early as June. It might do. Even if it does, we at this point can still guarantee we can submit your application in time. So the answer is yeah, you can do, but don't hesitate. Don't put this off until later in the year if it is something that is important to you, because it might not be there for too much longer. Okay, so and just to clarify on that point, so to be sure to guarantee that you're successful with the visa application, you don't have to receive the visa before the law changes. You only must apply the program. Now, when we submit your application, we receive a tracking number from SEF to, of course, confirm the status of the application. And as of it was only, I think, maybe 3 weeks back, 3-4 weeks back, the Prime Minister confirmed that any applications received before the law physically changes will be honoured and protected under the current law. So that's all you have to do. We only have to submit. We don't have to wait for the full period to receive the visa before the deadline. So that's the plan. That is the plan. That's what we need to do. Okay, so I'm gonna ask just a few quick questions whilst we're just on that topic. If relevant to this topic, I may need to come back to some of these at the end. Sorry if my audio is breaking up a little bit. Apologies. I hope my Wi-Fi connection is okay, but let me know if I do miss any. If you do miss any significant information. Is Golden Visa at 600k plus? Hi there, Connie. The Golden Visa investments start from 280,000, which I'm actually going to come on to in a second. So no, it's not 600. It's from 280,000 that you can qualify for the program. Can you confirm that the proposed law change would not be retroactive? I can confirm that it cannot be retroactive. That was one of the talking points since February this year, where the Prime Minister, around March time, made a public announcement that any applications submitted after the 16th of February will not be accepted. To which, of course, caused a whirlwind of questions for me, and I spent a lot of time explaining to clients how it is unconstitutional to retroactively cancel applications or not accept applications. It goes against the Portuguese constitutional law. There was a huge backlash when that announcement was made, and subsequently the Prime Minister retracted that statement and then confirmed that any applications submitted will be honoured as long as they're submitted before the law is changed. So no, it cannot be changed retrospectively. Okay, what is the tax rate for income earned from interest under MHR? It depends on the type of income. For rental income and for dividend income, the tax rate is 0. For pension income, it is 10%. For employed or self-employed income for certain professions, it's capped at 20%. So it ultimately comes down to the type of income. As long as the income comes from a country that has a tax treaty with Portugal, then you will benefit from the NHR. Hi there, Jimmy. Thanks for your comments. Yes, it is overall. Well, you feel it's more of a negative. My girlfriend is Portuguese, and it really hurts the locals. Yeah. So again, I suppose there's two sides to the argument, Jimmy. Again, the local Portuguese see it as a negative. Some don't, some do. I suppose it depends on personal circumstances, but yeah, it can be a negative for some. So other than that, thanks, Connie. I'm going to come back to that question shortly, Connie. Is it worth applying for a Golden Visa now before it's too late, even if you don't plan to move there for a couple of years? The reason why most people go for the Golden Visa over other visa options is that it doesn't have a minimum stay other than, a week each year or 2 weeks every 2 years. The majority of my clients are not actually planning to move to Portugal just yet. I'm actually thinking of 5-10 years from now, when they're looking to retire, with the most common situation, looking to retire to the sun in Europe and enjoy the relaxed lifestyle, but not necessarily wanting to be here all the time just yet. So as long as you come to holiday in Portugal, then you don't really have to be here to get the passport in 5 years. You can maintain the visa for 5 years. You can get the passport and have access to all the European states to retire to any one of them without spending more than 2 weeks in Portugal every 2 years. So you need to apply for it now, but you don't need to be here. I hope that answers the question. Hi there, Ramik. Yes, the presentation is being recorded, and yeah, we can send a copy to you. That's no problem. Okay, so back to the slides. So I'm just going to cover some of the basics. So who qualifies for the visa? For anyone that doesn't already have a European passport can apply, and also that person can include other family members if they are deemed to be a dependent. A dependent can be, first of all, a spouse, so it can be married or unmarried, as long as you live together, that is fine. You can include children up to the age of 21, also older if they are still a student, or we can prove dependency in some way, but generally up to the age of 21 is fine. Also, should you wish your parents to come with you, any parents over the age of 65 are automatically assumed by Portuguese law as dependent, so you can include them on the application. If parents are under 65, they may still be able to get involved. However, they must be dependent upon the main applicant to do that by way of financially dependent or perhaps living together. But the idea is you can bring up to 3 generations of the family over to Portugal. Everybody gets a visa. Everybody gets to spend as much time as they like here. And after 5 years, everybody gets a passport. So children might go and study in France. Parents might relax on the beach in Portugal, and parents might fly over to Spain next door for whatever reason. But the idea is you get that freedom with the passport, and you can then decide where you wish to move to. Any questions on who can be included? Drop a question in the Q&A, and we'll come back to that shortly. Okay, so there are different types of investment that you can choose from and qualify for the visa. Over the past 12 months, 90 to 95% of new applications have been done with investment into real estate for a number of reasons, but it's not the only option, which I'll come on to shortly. Now, as of the beginning of 2022, the government quite drastically changed what type of property can qualify for the program. And the minimum investment increased on a number of topics, but also the type of property as well. Now, if you want to buy, what they basically said is if you want to buy a property in any of the main cities, the most popular cities such as Porto, Lisbon, or anywhere on the coast, residential properties will no longer qualify. Instead, you must buy a commercial property, or in other words, an investment. It's a property that is not for you to live in. It is purely as an investment, which generally comes into 2 categories. But a commercial investment is one designed for business, and the most popular type of investment on a commercial basis is into some kind of hotel. And you can either buy a share in a hotel, you can become a co-owner or a part owner of a hotel, or you can buy a property within a hotel complex. But it must have a commercial license in any of those main cities. Now, you can still buy residential property inland Portugal. Of course, you can sacrifice the tourism, but if you do like the idea of living somewhere where there isn't perhaps the tourism or the footfall, then you can still buy a residential property. But in the main, if you're buying in the populated areas of Portugal, it must be a commercial property. Now, the price point is €500,000 to qualify for a property that is new or less than 30 years old. And if you buy a property in a low density area, you get a 20% discount from that, which brings it down to 400,000. Should you wish to invest in a property that is being renovated, and it's where the building is over 30 years old, the minimum to qualify will be at 350. And if you do that within a low density area, it comes right down to €280,000. So as a general rule of thumb, you'll find that the different developments across Portugal are more profitable at higher price points, at 400 and 500. At 280 to 350, you'll find the investments are less profitable. However, the benefit being that you can achieve the same visa and the same passport for half as much capital, allowing you to invest the difference elsewhere to perhaps generate the difference in profitability. But as a whole, 280 and 350 is designed to get the visa with less cash. The options at 400 and 500 upwards, you'll find will be a lot more profitable as well. It's just the case, again, a nice balance between the two. Holborn have put together a portfolio of recommended developments across Portugal, which I'm going to come on to shortly. But you'll see there's options at each of those price points, and you can see where they differ. If you don't go through the property option, you can invest through an investment fund. It used to be a little more popular, that option, when it was only at 350, but again, that increased to 500 last year. You can invest into a Portuguese investment fund. They're not the type of funds you would probably invest into in the open market, but there are Portuguese investment funds that you can choose from, which includes investment funds as well as venture capital funds as well. You can invest into Portuguese, the Portuguese scientific research. You can set up a business in Portugal. You can purchase a business in Portugal as long as you employ a certain number of staff for a certain period of time. Or you can simply transfer €1.5 million into a Portuguese bank account if you wish, which is not the best idea for various reasons. Portugal doesn't have the most robust banking regulation system, if you like, compared to other parts of the world. And also the interest rates payable on cash are not particularly great at the moment either. But if you wish, that is a viable option and will be allowed to qualify. So yeah, hope that's okay. Get any questions on what type of properties can qualify or what type of investments, please do check the Q&A. Or Q4A very shortly. Okay, so what is the process involved now from here to get started? The first thing to do is you just need to find an investment that you like that meets that criteria. As soon as we've done that, we will, first of all, we can go full speed ahead. The first thing that we must do is to apply for your Portuguese tax numbers, which won't take too long, but you can't do a great deal without your tax numbers in Portugal. That is the immediate action if you've selected a property. Now, up until February time, the next step was then we would set up a bank account at that point. However, the average time to set up a bank account in Portugal from abroad at the moment is taking about 8 weeks. So for obvious reasons, we're not recommending that as a good option because the program may well close in 4 weeks. So you have two options. First of all, you could fly into Portugal and you can set up a bank account the same day. That's the third option. The second option is, in some countries, there is the option to set up a bank account locally in your country, as long as there is a connection with Portugal. So few and far between, but possible. The most popular option at the moment is simply using your lawyer's escrow account. Once the legal work is completed, you can transfer the funds directly to the acting lawyer to their escrow account, and they can complete the purchase on your behalf, and then you can set up the bank account retrospectively after the application has been submitted. So that is by far the easiest and the fastest option, and it allows us to do the application within 2 to 4 weeks rather than 8 to 12 weeks, as it was when we were setting up the bank account before the application. But either of those options is fine. But once you have your tax numbers, once you have a plan of action for the transfer of funds, you will meet with the lawyer. The lawyer will go through with you the legal contract, and you'll complete the power of attorney with the lawyer. And when all is done, you will then be asked to transfer the funds to the lawyer or to your Portuguese bank account to complete the deed. The deed is when you become the owner of the property. As soon as you become the owner of the property, we can submit your application. Okay, it's an online submission to SEF, and at that point, you can relax and take a deep breath because that's all we need to do before the program closes. We will get your tracking reference number from SEF. We then have as much time as we need to receive the visa, but that is the safety point, if you like. Now, once it's submitted, around about 6 months after the application begins, it is the first time which you will actually need to come to Portugal, and you'll then meet. You actually come over to Portugal, meet with the lawyers, and meet with SEF to do your biometrics for your photo and for your fingerprints. And shortly thereafter, you will receive the visa, which will look a little bit like this one at the bottom. And that is your pass to Portugal. And the process as a whole at the moment is taking about 12 months from start to finish. Give you a rough guide. My team will do we do everything for you. Look, I know this looks very busy, and there is a lot to do, but this is part of our service. We do the full shebang. You don't need to leave where you are. You don't need to come to Portugal until 6 months after the application for the biometrics. Until then, everything is done through video call and remotely. Any original documents that are needed, we will collect from your home, and we can expedite the process very quickly and very easily. Very easily, like there's always something that we have to deal with. However, that is for us to get everything through and simply keep you up to date along the way. So I hope that's now been clear. Get any questions on the process, please drop a message in the Q&A. Once you have the visa, you will have the visa for 2 years. And during that time, you have full access to Portugal. Okay, you can travel to the rest of Europe. Okay, but you'll have Schengen rights. You'll have the right to travel for 3 months at a time to the rest of Europe, but you'll have full access to Portugal during the visa period. After year 2, we will renew the visa. After the 4th year, we will renew it again. After you've held the visa for a total of 5 years, on the basis that you've kept a clean criminal record and you've picked up some very basic Portuguese, you can then apply for your permanent residency and your passport and citizenship. And it's at that point that, again, you can then have access to live anywhere in Europe. You've got visa-free travel to 187 countries worldwide, and officially the 5th best passport in the world. Piece of cake. So again, we'll be looking after you right through that process, but that's what's involved. That is the plan. That's how to get you to passport. Okay, so quick recap, and then we'll have a look at some of the top properties out there at the moment. So first one is to find an investment. Step one, find an investment. And we must submit your application. We need to complete the investment. We need to submit your application to CEF before the law changes. That will take us around 2 to 4 weeks. The fastest we've done it is 10 days. I am quite keen to beat that record. At the moment, the record is 10 days from start to finish. But it can be considerably longer. Of course, we do need you to be able to provide documents to us in a timely manner. But on average, 2 to 4 weeks from start to finish. We'll then have about 12 months to receive the visa. We renew the visa after year 2. We'll renew again after year 4. And after the 5th year is when we'll apply for your passport and your citizenship. So, hope that's nice and clear. But that is the plan. That is the road ahead to citizenship. Okay, so I'm now going to jump on to some properties. I'm quite keen to get to the Q&A, so I won't spend too much time going through all the properties. Any brochures and costings and information, everything can be requested by email. I'm happy to send that to you. But I'll give you a bit of an idea of the types of investments that are out there and some of the ones that we're recommending at the moment. Starting with a brand new development, which has just been made available. They're starting at 280,000, and we'll go up further difference between 280 to the higher price point. This development is a hotel in the Algarve, very close to where I live. And you can see how close it is to the beachfront. The town is Portimao, where with any race fans, you'll know the quite a famous Grand Prix racetrack in Portimao. And this is going to be a Hard Rock hotel, first of its kind in Portugal, I think. And the proposal, okay, some interior photos here as well. The proposal from the developer is that you can purchase a share in the hotel. You can become a co-owner of the Hard Rock Hotel, and your name will be on the deeds along with 244 other investors, and it will be a 5-star hotel, as I say, down here in the Algarve. The developer's been around for a very long time. They have over 40 hotels up and down Portugal, a mixture of 4- and 5-star hotels. This particular one will feature 275 rooms and suites with all the bells and whistles of a 5-star hotel. The incentive, for those familiar with buying in Portugal, you'll know that there is a property tax when you purchase any property in Portugal. However, the tax ranges from 5 to 10% of the purchase price. On some developments, you'll find that tax is paid for you. This is one of them. So the IMT and the VAT is paid, which is a saving of around about €20,000 in tax. There is a little bit of stamp duty to pay, although it's only a couple of €1,000, but the majority of the taxes are paid. A real important factor is that there is a buyback in place. I've got a guaranteed, a mandatory buyback. So once you receive your passport, you will need to sell, you'll have to sell that share back the same price, €280,000. That will be sold back to the developer. There's no interest. Okay, there's no rental income. It's 280,000 in and 280,000 back out again. However, during that time, they will also allow you to stay for 7 days in any of the hotels in Portugal each year for free. So that allows you to maintain your minimum stay during that time. So this one, yeah, it's a beautiful development. It's just come available recently, and the downside to this is that there isn't any rental income. That is the main negative. There isn't any rental income during those 5 years. But taxes are paid. You have a buyback, which means a guaranteed release of capital once you receive your passport. You get to spend 7 days in any of the hotels, so you can stay in any part of Portugal each year. And it's a good developer, and of course, a huge hotel route as well. So a good, very traditional way to qualify for visa. Now, another one I like, we've recently sold very quickly a Wyndham Hotel just south of Lisbon. The developer has just this week launched a brand new Wyndham Gardens development in the northwest of Portugal. The project ticks all the boxes to qualify at 280,000. We're going to do a quick recap. To qualify at 280, it has to be a renovation project. The building has to be over 30 years old. It must be a commercial building, and it must be in a low density area. So it ticks all those boxes. When it's finished, it will be a 4-star Wyndham Gardens development. Proposition, again, it's a co-ownership route to the visa, which means that by buying into the hotel, you will be a co-owner along with 109 other investors. It's a 4-star hotel, this one. Again, the developer's been around for a long time. They've got a good portfolio of hotels in Portugal. The taxes are paid, which is a big thumbs up. IMT and VAT paid for. You have a guaranteed buyback. Okay, so again, that they don't have to worry about selling the property, paying for lawyers and realtors and things like this. It's just a transfer of ownership back to the developer to release that 280,000. The big difference with this one is that there is also an extra incentive where as soon as you complete the deed, there's an upfront payment made of €30,000 from the developer as an extra incentive, and you can use that €30,000 to be reimbursed for all of the costs involved and a nice profit, depending on how many family members, of course, are to be included, but then there's also a profit at this price point, having paid for government fees and legal fees as well. So right now, this is the lowest capital route to the visa. You're effectively buying in at 250 and selling back at 280. One of the bullet points for today's webinars was to find how to do it for less than 280. This is that option. Effectively buying at 250, you've got a guaranteed buyback at 280. And like I say, it's a great hotel chain, very well-known hotel chain, a very well-established developer. And again, they allow you to stay for 7 days in any of the hotels each year, free of charge as well. That's the Wyndham. Okay. Third and final one, again, it's one of my personal favorites at the moment. That this is not the entire portfolio, of course, but these are my recommendations currently. The Yellow Tulip, again, in the Algarve. This one is almost sold out now, unfortunately, but there is still 1, possibly 2 apartments left for sale. This is literally 20 minutes from where I live in an amazing town called Alvor in the Algarve. You can see how close it is there to the waterfront. The building is already there. It's already a hotel. It's already on booking.com, which is always a plus. However, it's very run down. Okay, it's been around for over 30 years, obviously. And it's probably not been painted for probably 20 years. So they did actually close for renovation in January this year. When it's finished, which will be later this year, it's going to be revamped and launched as the Yellow Tulip, currently called the Yellow Alvor Garden. Horrible name, but nonetheless, the Yellow Alvor Garden you'll see on Google Maps. It's going to be relaunched as the Yellow Tulip, and it'll be an all-inclusive as new 4-star hotel in the Algarve. There's going to be all new sports facilities down here at the bottom, 2 new tennis courts, new volleyball, a nice beach volleyball, also a nice bar restaurant coming in as well. The swimming pools have been rebuilt. All the restaurants have been done. Communal areas, all the furniture, all the individual apartments is being completely refurbished. These photos were taken in summertime last year, so you can see it is there. It is a fully functioning hotel, of course, to be renovated. Now, this one's slightly different to the others because unlike the others, which are a co-ownership program, this is where you purchase a full title deed. You're actually purchasing an individual property within the complex as opposed to buying a share over the complex. So you have full ownership of an individual apartment. Now, the facilities can have all the facilities of a 4-star hotel. The developer pays all the taxes. They also pay the stamp duty on this one, which is again saving of around about 2,000 on top of the 20,000 for the IMT. You have a guaranteed buyback, but the buyback on this one is optional for the investor. And what that means is that you don't have to sell it back. If property prices go up in the next 5 years, as they have done in the last 5 years, you might want to keep the property. And I mean, in the past 2 years, property prices have increased by 35% in Portugal. I don't personally think they'll continue at that pace, but there is still a huge potential for property price increments over the next 5 to 10 years. I would never bank on property prices being more in 5 years to make a decision, but it is a nice option to have. And if prices are higher at that point, you can keep the property and you can either sell it on the open market or you can rent it out. And the hotel on this development actually does all the management. They're responsible for the marketing, the cleaning, the insurance, all the check-ins and check-outs, things like that. And they simply pay the investors 50% of the rental income, which works out around about 5 to 6% per year. Furthermore, you also can stay here for 2 weeks for free every year, rather than one. And it's a pretty nice place to go on holiday, I must say. Alvor's my kind of staycation town, if you like. It's an incredible town. It used to be a very quiet little fishing village. Now it has one of the best steakhouses I've ever been to. There's a mile-long road of themed restaurants, which is really nice. There's quite a lot going on now. It's one of the nicest beaches I've ever been to. There's like a hidden beach in the centre of Alvor as well. Really nice place to be. Slightly different to the other ones out there. Actually, this one is nearly sold out. There is a couple of apartments left. One at 285, and one which is on the hillside. There's one at 290, which is on the pool side. But a great option in the Algarve. So those are my recommendations at the 280 price point. Like I said, there are others out there which we can run through. But if it was my money, one of these 3 great developers, good track record. The Wyndham has 30,000 upfront rental as well. That's another downside of the Yellow Tulip. There isn't anything paid in the first 5 years. But it does require slightly more capital than the Wyndham. But either way, they're all good options. So that's 280. Any questions on those again? Please drop a question in the Q&A. Things like, if you'd like the full brochures, the development, and also a personalised cost breakdown for any of these for yourself and your family, please do send me an email, which you'll have at the end of the presentation. And you'll also have an email from my assistant Zoe this morning as well to make any requests. Now at 350, there is a nice development in Lisbon. Okay, downtown Lisbon, very very nice part of Lisbon actually. And again, it's a similar proposition by way of becoming a co-owner of the hotel. You can buy a share in this very nice, colourful hotel here near the beach for 350,000 euros. It is a renovation project, but it's not a low density area. So it has to be 350 to qualify. It's a 4-star hotel. The only difference really between this and the Hard Rock Hotel, for example, we looked at before, is that there is a small rental paid of 3% per year from when the hotel is finished. So that will probably net you around about 11,000 euros over the period. So the only question between this at 350 and the one at 280 really is whether or not you want to invest that extra 70,000 for a return of, say, 10 to 11,000 extra. But all the taxes are still paid. The buyback is guaranteed. You can stay in any of the hotels free of charge across Portugal each year. Good option at 350. Personally, I don't think there's a huge argument for this one at the moment compared to 280 options. But if you want an investment in Lisbon, again, it's a solid option to look at. Okay, back to the Algarve. This is a hotel just near the Yellow Tulip, actually. It's in Alvor again. The hotel is already finished. It's already on booking.com. You can stay there tonight should you wish. It is a 4-star development. It's already been renovated and mostly sold out. Now, there is still some availability. There's a choice of 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments. The qualifying criteria is 400,000 euros, which means it's a new build property, but in a low density area, qualify at 400. The 1-beds are priced at 400,000. The 2-beds are priced at 450. This one again is not a co-ownership. This is a full title deed ownership. You're buying outright an individual apartment within the complex. The big incentive with this one, unlike the ones we've seen so far, is there is a huge rental income paid up front. And on the 1-bed, there is actually a fixed rental of 5.2% per year. On the 2-beds, it's at 4.5%. And the developer will actually pay 6 years rental income up front as part of the purchase. So far up front that they actually transfer the rental to you before you purchase the property, which allows you to actually reduce, it actually significantly reduces how much capital is required to buy the property. So at 400,000, once you work out the 6 years rental income and subtract the withholding tax that's payable in Portugal, the capital needed for a 1-bed is only 306, and you have a guaranteed buyback at 400. And the 2-beds require capital at 328, with a guaranteed buyback at 450. The buyback, again, is optional as well, only optional for the investor. It's guaranteed from the developer. And you can stay in the hotel for 4 weeks each year for free as well. So this one, very clear profit margin over that time, significantly more profitable than what we've looked at so far. Slightly higher up on the capital required. Also, bear in mind that this one doesn't pay the tax, because you'll have the IMT tax to add, which is around about 30,000 euros, okay, on top of the cost of the property. However, it's still significantly more profitable than those that we've looked at, which you'll find throughout. Generally, the more you spend, the more money that you can make along the way. But yeah, really, really nice development. You'll see, everyone will have had an email earlier today. There's actually a video. I can never laugh at my acting skills as I'm actually in the hotel. I do have a bird's eye view of the area and have a look in one of the 2-bedroom apartments as well. But yeah, any details on that, please ask. Finally, the last one I'm going to show to you today is a 5-star resort. It's officially the most profitable option in Portugal right now, and arguably the nicest as well, especially for golfers. It is a 5-star golf and bar resort, and it's located about 40 minutes or so north of Lisbon. It was completed in 2021. The grass now has fully grown in. It is all now nice and green gardens now. It's a little slightly older photo when it was first done. The hotel at the back is not for sale. However, the apartments just in front are a mixture of 1-bedroom and studio apartments, which are for sale. It's a purpose-built development for a PGA golf course, actually built on a PGA golf course. I'm not a golfer myself, but if I was, I'd be pretty impressed with having an apartment on a PGA golf course. But as you can see, overlooking the course, all the apartments are sea facing as well. And the proposition, again, this one it's not in a low density area, and it's a brand new build development as well. So it qualifies at 500,000, which means that you must either buy 2 studio apartments to qualify at 350 each, or you can buy a 1-bedroom at 500. For any golfers out there, you'll be more familiar with the designer of the golf course, Mr. Severiano Ballesteros, who's a very famous Spanish golfer, also a very famous architect, helped to design the resort, Mr. Philippe Darc. For those looking purely at the numbers, the rental income is very impressive. Before tax, the rental income is fixed from the hotel at 7% per year. After tax, still comes out at 5.25% per year. And the developer pays 5 years of that rental income up front. Again, very similar to the Pelican Hotel. So for the 2 beds, if you bought 2 studios, should I say, you'd actually buy them at 500,000 with a guaranteed buyback at 700,000. The capital required for a 1-bed is 368 with a buyback at 500,000. The buyback again is optional for the investor, so you don't have to sell it at those prices if you don't wish. You can keep it and continue with the rental income, or sell it on the open market. However, you can stay here for 6 weeks. You can have that rental and stay there for free for 6 weeks every year, whilst in that initial period as well. So if you're not a golfer, there's not a lot keeping you occupied for 6 weeks. The town of Obidos is very picturesque. There is a really nice lagoon here just at the back as well. Good for swimming and sunbathing. You have the spa, of course, but 6 weeks is quite a long time if you're not a golfer. I think at a purpose-built golf resort. What we did for a client a little while back was to do 3 weeks for 2 properties instead of 6 weeks for 1. So it can be tailored to that effect. Well, yeah, that's the creme de la creme as far as profitability is concerned of properties at the moment. Okay, so I've been talking to everyone for a while. I've actually come up to the hour. I was hoping to finish a little bit earlier. I hope I've not been talking to everyone too much, but I've given you a good idea of the process, the timelines, how much time we have left, some of the properties that are out there. Again, I would just encourage anyone that is seriously looking at the program, please do get in contact and ask any questions that you have. Request the information that you need to be able to make an informed decision. Whilst the program is still available, there's no immediate panic. I still think we have plenty of time before we will see the law change. We do have to prepare for a worst case scenario of perhaps the end of June, which again I think is very unlikely. But sometime between July to August might be the cut-off time for the program forever. It will be a sad day, but unfortunately, I don't have enough say in the government to keep it along too much longer. Anyway, so yeah, other than that, we'll jump into some questions. So yeah, I've got a little time to go through any Q&A. So hopefully I've covered most questions that I've gone through. But if there's any questions, please do throw them in. I've also got quite a lot of questions that came in before from the registrations for the event as well. So yeah, we shall fire through. Hi there, Connie. Thank you for your message. So, is it easier to come from the UK or from the USA? My husband is a dual citizen of Britain and the USA. I'm an American. We live in the US. In all honesty, Connie, it doesn't make a difference. Both will take exactly the same amount of time. After which passport we use on your application, both are perfectly fine as long as you meet all the other criteria. Either is fine. Okay, so what about a spouse you marry after you apply? Yes, you can add a spouse at any time. We can do that. Well, so if you have any babies during the time, you can add them as well. Yes, we can add a spouse after the application, no problem. What about the Azores? Hi there, Vanessa. Yes, the Azores is qualified in the visa. It's also deemed a low density area, so there are some developments available from 280. So yeah, Azores is fine. Again, drop me a message if you want to go into some more detail on the Azores. With a golden visa, can we land in another EU country? Or would first port of entry need to be in Portugal every time? Yes, you can fly directly to any European country as long as you don't stay there for more than 3 months at a time. That is fine. You could actually come to Portugal after you've spent the 3 months, spend 3 months in Portugal and go back again, fancy a bit of France or Spain, wherever it may be. But yes, you can fly anywhere as long as you can stay a maximum 3 months in other EU countries at one time. And then after you have the passport, you then have unadulterated access for as long as you like in any of the EU. So you really cannot master Portuguese. In theory, you could renew it every 2 years forever. Yes, you could. You could indeed. You can renew the visa every 2 years for the rest of your life. No problem. Of course, there is a cost involved with the renewals, so it would be there's definitely an incentive to apply for the permanent residency and the citizenship. But if you were just really struggling with the Portuguese, yes, you can renew for as long as you like. Hi there, Connie. Don't these huge hotel chains ruin the natural ambience of Portugal? I suppose that would be a personal comment there, Connie. I'll let you make the decision on that. The hotels, as we've seen, are quite impressive. Obviously, bringing a lot of jobs to the local area. But of course, it's your call on that one. Hi there, Suzanne. Is it possible to get a mortgage for a hotel investment? You can borrow money against property. You can remortgage. You can take finance. That's all okay. However, in short, the answer is no as far as mortgaging the property that qualifies for the program. With residential property, you can mortgage anything above the qualifying criteria. So if the price is 280, but if it qualifies at 280 and the price is 400, you could mortgage 120. It only really applies to residential property. Getting a mortgage, certainly on things like a co-ownership program, is next to impossible. But you can raise finance from other properties. Hopefully that makes sense. We do have a mortgage desk, by the way. We do, as part of Holborn, we do have an international mortgage desk which can help with lending in certain areas. So please feel free to get in touch if we can help there. Is this an existing hotel or some other property being converted into a hotel? And following question: why no rental yield for Ponte Veo? So the property is a renovation. It has to be a renovation in a low density area to qualify at 280. There's no rental yield. Well, because they don't want to offer any rental yield. Quite simply, it's a nice hotel to be involved with, but probably the reason why the Wyndham is much more popular at the moment because there is that big €30,000 incentive. So yeah, it is a negative of that particular developer with that particular hotel. There is no rental. Ultimately, it is down to the developer to offer what they wish to offer and for the investor to decide what they wish to invest into. Hi there, Suzanne. Is the only risk of these hotel developments that they go bust? Is there a bank guarantee at all? It depends on the development as to how I'd answer that question, I suppose. With a co-ownership program, I'm speaking only on behalf of, again, the ones that we've carried our due diligence upon. You'll find that the capital is kept in an escrow account for the full period and audited to ensure that the funds remain completely separate from the hotel. The hotels are already pre-funded as well, so these developments that we've looked at are not subject to fully subscribing the investment in order to build the hotel, which is another important part to consider. The guarantee, there's not a bank guarantee as such. It's not a bank program. It's not a government program. You won't find any bank guarantees with any property in Portugal. But of course, we've carried out our due diligence to ensure that the funds are ring-fenced. And of course, you are in the deeds of the property. That is where the security ultimately comes from. You own a property which is already worth and valued in excess of the price that you're paying for it in its current state. So yeah, we'll go into more detail. If there's a particular development, Suzanne, that you want to dig into, let me know, and yeah, we can do so. Will the 280,000 and the 30K upfront be considered by SEF as not meeting the minimum threshold, as it's really only 250 investment? No, in short, there is a purchase of a property at 280,000 euros. It's as simple as that. We've already successfully submitted and had approval completed on that type of program. So no concerns at all. Hi, Suzanne. What are the approximate costs for these hotels, developments, your fees, lawyers' fees, application fees, etc., for year 2 and year 4 and citizenship? Okay, costs are generally broken down into 2 areas. You have the government fees and you have legal fees. We don't charge any fees. We're paid ultimately by the developers. We've structured all of the red tape and we do all the work, which ultimately leads them to be able to sell the properties. So our fees are paid for by the developers, but you will have legal fees generally, and you'll also have the government fees as well. They are again dependent on how many family members are to be included, Suzanne, also on the property as well. But I would suggest please send me an email. So if you can let me know how many family members you'd like to include on the application and which development you'd like a cost breakdown for, I'll send you a full breakdown, and we can also set up a Zoom meeting if you like to talk through your questions. Okay, I'm incidentally traveling to Portugal today. It's a holiday for 2 weeks. Other than looking at options, is there anything else I can do to help with the application process? For example, open a bank account. Not sure about applying for the Golden Visa just yet, but want to keep the options open. Yeah, set up a bank account. That would be a good idea. You can go to somewhere like Millennium BCP. They can open up a non-resident bank account on the same day. I don't think there's any costs involved. So you don't need to hold any money there. So there's no harm in setting up a bank account should you wish to do the program. Other than that, yeah, you're welcome to take a look at some of the development. Some of the development are already there and built and available to see, so you could do a bit of a road trip and check some of those out. But again, send me an email. We can do a quick Zoom meeting later this week, and we can make a bit of a plan of action. No problem. Okay, my wife is dual citizen. I am American only. Since she and the kids already have EU access, does it make sense for me to get a Portuguese passport via a golden visa? My wife is dual citizen. I'm US only. So, potentially, if your wife is already an EU citizen, you may be able to achieve citizenship through the fact that you are married. You need to ask a few more questions around that, but you might not need the visa. You might not need the citizenship if you can already apply for it. If not, for any reason, then yes, you would. You are the only person, it sounds, within the partnership that doesn't have an EU passport. Therefore, the golden visa would be the fastest route to achieve one. But yeah, send me an email. Please let me know the details, and I shall answer the question offline. No problem. Could you take some more or repeat the tax issues for US citizens who intend to stay US citizens? Yes. So for Americans, unfortunately, you are from one of only 2 countries in the world that continues to tax you, even if you move away from the country. So although Portugal offers lots of tax incentives, they're kind of overpowered by the fact that the US will continue to tax you. The tax liability, it still stays intact with the US, even though Portugal might not be taxing you. So the tax won't get any worse as an American citizen, but it likely won't change unless you sacrifice your US passport for a Portuguese one after the 5 years. So US does allow dual citizenship, and there are benefits, many benefits to keeping the US passport, which might supersede the tax havens in Portugal. But in the main, yeah, it's most countries tax you where you live rather than where you're from. But the US will tax where you are from, regardless of whether you're not in the US anymore. So it's not all bad news, but unfortunately not particularly good news. You don't get the same incentives, unfortunately, but you can blame the US government for that one. Okay, what documents are required for a US citizen to get the application submitted, and do all the documents need to be apostilled? Basic things, copies of passports are needed for those that are looking to be included on the visa application. So copies of passports for family, proof of address. We'll need a criminal record certificate from the main applicant, which is the only document that needs to be apostilled. Unless there's any documents that must be translated, also possible to be apostilled. And my team will provide you with a full personalized breakdown of exactly what documents are needed and how to get them as part of the process to make sure we can do that quickly. But those are the main documents you need at this stage. If there's any additional documents required based on your personal circumstances, I will let you know as soon as we talk. Hi there, Margot. What would the advantage be of applying for the Golden Visa if you are from the UK but have residency in Spain? Well, the fact that you get to live in Portugal, I suppose. I also had a residency in Spain, but after Brexit, it didn't count for anything in Portugal. Before Brexit, if you had residency in Spain, you could go anywhere you like. But after Brexit, a British passport only gets you access to the country that you have a residency in, which for you is Spain. The Portuguese Golden Visa would allow you to live in Portugal. You could use your current residency to live in Spain, so you could cross the border as much as you like. And of course, after 5 years, you have your passport to go anywhere in Europe, which means you're not stuck in Spain or Portugal. You can go anywhere. Now, the time to get a passport through Portugal is only 5 years, whereas in Spain it will take you 10 years as well. So, and whether you want to come to Portugal or anywhere else. How long have you been in Spain? If you've been in Spain for over 10 years, you could apply for your Spanish passport and get the same benefits. Can you maintain both US and Portuguese citizenship? Yes, you can. What are the potential tax implications of maintaining both? So again, kind of touched on that before. There isn't any tax implications of maintaining both. It just means that you'll continue to be subject to tax in the US. There is a tax treaty between the US and Portugal, which means you will never be double taxed. You don't have any worries about implications of having both. Excuse me, but you'll basically pay the higher tax rate of the two, which you'll find will be the US. If you do sacrifice your US citizenship to Portugal, the US will no longer tax you, and then you'll be purely subject to the Portuguese rules. Again, there are pros and cons of that process as well. But yeah, most do keep the US citizenship. US applications account for the vast majority of Golden Visa applications at the moment. And yeah, it's very rare that anyone is looking to sacrifice the US passport for Portuguese, but if you did, you might find the tax gets a little better after 5 years. Okay, so hi there, Susan. How does the nil tax rate work? I read you do not have lived in Portugal at any point during the last 5 years, so presumably total investment wouldn't trigger and to make election when the move's there, apparently. Yeah, yes, correct. So just to clarify, nobody's tax changes until you physically move to Portugal. The common misconception that by getting the Golden Visa that the tax changes. That's not the case. Your tax stays exactly the same as it is now, regardless of what visa that you have, until you physically move to Portugal. At that point, if you wish to apply for the NHR, one of the criteria is, yes, that you've not lived in Portugal. You've not been physically in Portugal during the last 5 years. Well, on holiday is fine, but you've not been tax resident in Portugal during the last 5 years. So yes, at that point, that's fine. The hotel investment would not trigger that or make any negative impact. So yes, you're okay on that one, Suzanne. No problem. How do we evaluate the financial wherewithal of the developer to ensure the buyback? Well, information can be provided. Yeah, well, if you let me know the particular development that's of interest, we can go through as much detail as you like. We can set up a meeting with the developer as well. We can share with you our due diligence, and yeah, everything that you need to know is available. Is this Ponte de Veo an existing hotel or a property being converted into a hotel? It is a renovation project I'm not sure if it's currently a hotel. It may or may not be a hotel at the moment, but it is being renovated, and it will be a 5-star hotel when it's all done. Is the escrow with a lawyer? Yes, it is, Suzanne. Are the hotels part of the wider group, or could they go bust individually? So the buyback is not with the individual hotel. The buyback is with the master company, the developer, okay, which will have a substantial portfolio of assets. As an investor, it makes little difference as to the individual hotel when it's built or how popular it is. What you care about as the investor is that you have a concrete buyback with a substantial developer in Portugal. So, yeah, don't worry too much about the individual hotel. It's the developer that's important. And again, let me know which one it is in particular that you're looking at, and I might be able to show you some of the other developments that they hold within their portfolio. Okay, is it necessary to fly out and see these developments before investing? It's very rare that our clients fly out to see the building, Suzanne. You can do, you're very welcome, of course, as long as you choose one that's already built. But no, unlike the kind of before last year when residential property qualified, you're thinking a lot more with your heart and kind of where it is. Would you like living there? So now it's you're buying as a commercial investment. You're thinking more with your head. So as to what the interior of the rooms look like, or how the grass is cut, or the area, all these things become a little bit less important because you're interested purely in the security of your capital and the investment returns, and the information that is available that can be provided remotely as opposed to actually getting there. There's not a real benefit of seeing a property because you kind of, all you do is you get to see what it looks like, but you kind of already know what it looks like. So yeah, it's not quite as important. It's very rare one flies in, but you're welcome to do so if you like. No problem. We can arrange a little viewing tour for you if you like. Are there any proposals to change the nil rate tax regime? No, not as far as I'm aware. There's no talk of that at the moment. It's not linked to the Golden Visa. The NHR is simply a tax regime that was launched back in 2008-ish, if memory serves me correctly. It was designed to attract investment and new residents and investment into Portugal. So yeah, there's no talk of that changing at all. So you're okay for now. There'll be some grumpy people about if they were getting rid of both. That's for sure. Okay, can you confirm we can keep British passport with Portuguese passport? Yes, that's fine. Britain will allow dual citizenship with Portugal, no problem at all. With two visa renewals required prior to citizenship after year 2 and year 4, what are the costs and fees associated with each renewal? Approximately 1,500 to 2,000 per person, varies slightly depending on how many renewals that you're doing, but it's purely the government fees that are paid for at that point. It's all done online now, which changed earlier this year, so it's very straightforward. But it's around about €1,500 per renewal. Okay, so we're doing well on the questions. What are the benefits of getting the Golden Visa if you plan to keep your US citizenship? Can't you stay for 3 months anyway? Yes, you can. With your American passport, you are welcome to come to Portugal for 3 months at a time. You do not need a visa for that. The visa is there if you want to stay for more than 3 months at a time, or if you want to have a European passport. So if you're looking to move to Portugal or move to Europe in the future, you're going to need a visa. If you're not planning to move to Portugal or Europe, you don't need a visa. Hopefully that answers your question. As a commercial investment, can you take depreciation on your taxes? Do you get anything like the K1? I'm not going to comment on tax because I have no idea of the situation or where you are or who you are, Mr. Anonymous attendee on this question. But to set up a meeting about taxes and financial planning, drop me an email. I'll send you a link to my calendar and I will happily answer the questions that you have. Okay, is it possible to get a mortgage to invest in a hotel with minimum down payment? I think we covered that one before, but unfortunately not. You cannot mortgage the hotel. However, you can remortgage property elsewhere to get the funds for the cash purchase. Okay, firing through there. Some good questions. We're a little bit shy on time now, but I'm just going to pick off a few of the questions that came in before the webinar. I may have covered some of these already. Okay, please tell me the cheapest way to get the Golden Visa. Thank you, David. Cheapest option at the moment is the Wyndham development at 250,000, as you get 30,000 cash back at the outset, which you can use to pay for all of the Golden Visa fees for the government and legal fees as well. Hi there, Gunther. I'm German citizen. I'm 82 years old, but since 40 years old, I'm living in tax resident of the Dominican Republic. Not seen a question there, Gunther, unfortunately, but sounds good. Let me know if you want to go into some more detail about your tax status. Hello there, Abby. We've owned a property for 17 years on the Lisbon coast and would like to know what steps we need to take now. Well, the property on the Lisbon coast won't qualify for the program, unfortunately. So the next steps are exactly the same as everybody else in this situation, Abby, where you'll need to purchase a new property that qualifies for the program. Of course, if you wish to apply for the Golden Visa. Okay, to buy a main residence and live in Portugal, do you have to have a Golden Visa? Hi there, Cheryl. Good question. You can buy a house in Portugal without a visa. You can buy whatever you like. Tricky part is being able to live in that property, for which you need to have a visa if you're going to live there for over 3 months at a time. Now, to buy a Golden Visa, you cannot have a main resident as the qualifying property unless it's inland, anywhere on the coast or Lisbon or the Algarve or Porto. You can't qualify with a residential property. So you would have to buy a commercial property from 280. That ticks the boxes to get your visa, and then you can buy whatever you like without any restrictions on the price or the area to live in. You can go and live on the beach in a little wooden shack, or you can go and buy yourself a nice big palace in the centre of Lisbon. You can do whatever you like, as long as you have a qualifying commercial property in the background, ticking the boxes for the visa. Okay. So hi there. Play details on the reduced investments on interior projects. Please invest in an interior projects and bind the code. I think we've covered that one off already. But again, any questions on that, Clay, please drop me an email. Okay, do you have to fill up your US citizenship to become a citizen of Portugal? Fix that one off. No, you do not. You can keep both, no problem. Is a mortgage available to cover the cost of the house? It must be a payment in cash. You can remortgage other property. And would like to start hi there, Bethany. Starting the application process in October. Is that too late? Probably too late. Hopefully not, but we're expecting the program to close between July and August. So yes, October is probably too late. If you can do anything to make it happen before, I highly recommend it. If not, check in with me in October and we'll see how the land lies. Okay, so as far as what else we got? Just a few more to finish off. I'm from the UK, but I have a Spanish residency. Is it worthwhile getting a hi there, Margot? I think I've answered that one before. Hope that was okay. How long does it take for biometric? It takes about 6 to 8 months for the biometrics appointment. So from the point that we apply for the visa to actually go into depth with you to do your biometrics will take about 6 to 8 months at the moment. The process in total will take about 12 months from start to finish. Hi there, Claire. What is the quickest way to obtain a Golden Visa? The quickest way to obtain a Golden Visa is to choose the property as soon as you can. Let me know which one it is. Ask me how much it's going to cost for your family. I'll send you all the information. We will talk through it, and we will apply for your Golden Visa within the next 4 weeks. 2 to 4 weeks, all being well. Okay, last question, I think. Maybe a few more in the Q&A. So we're looking to possibly retire in Portugal. Hi there, Richard. How does the end of the Golden Visa program affect us? Well, if you retire after the end of the program, Richard, you'll need to find another way, another type of visa, of which we don't know what those will be, or the criteria, or the minimum stay requirements. There are other visas if you are imminently moving to Portugal, which have a few more hoops to jump through. But my recommendation is if you want to do the Golden Visa, to apply for it now, whilst the program is still in place. You only have to be in Portugal for 2 weeks every 2 years to maintain the visa. And after 5 years, you'll have your passport. So then you can retire to Portugal, live where you like, buy whatever you like, and well, you can do that in anywhere in Europe, which would make for a very happy retirement, honestly. So yeah, you can do it now before the program closes and then move to Portugal when you retire. Okay, a few more questions coming in. Hi there, Suzanne. So the benefit of the Golden Visa over the others where there is no capital requirement is that you can obtain EU citizenship with only having lived 2 weeks every year. Correct. You only have to live in Portugal for 2 weeks every 2 years to maintain a Golden Visa, which means that you can get the passport after 5 years without having to spend much time at all in Portugal in the meantime. Hi there, Connie. With the Golden Visa, can a person work? Yes, you can. You're very welcome to work. No problem at all. Or you can retire. Or you can go fishing. Whatever you like. Hi there, Suzanne. What's the capital gains tax position if one bought a one bed at 368 and the buyback at 500? There is no capital gains tax liability because formally you are buying at 500 and you will be selling at 500. However, the rental income that's paid, which is the difference between the 368 and the 500, is taxable. And you remember that I mentioned about a withholding tax before. So that difference between the two has already factored in the tax that's payable on the rental income, which in Portugal is a Portuguese withholding tax. There's no capital gains liability at the end because you're going to be selling it the same price that you bought it for. Unless you kept it, of course, and sold it for more. But with the buyback, it will be the same. Okay, are the guaranteed buybacks only after 5 years? Does it depend on the property? The buybacks, more often than not, have at least 6 years to give you a bit of time because you're going to have to you have to own the property for 5 years after you've received the visa. So you actually need it for 6 years. But most of the buyback you can extend the buyback up to 15 years. Depends on the developer. Of course, naturally we'll check that depending on which development is to your preference. But yeah, you generally get plenty of time to execute the buyback.